And what's up, guys? It's Scott from Cyberspace PC coming at you with another video. And we've got kind of an exciting discussion today. We're going to go over the 3070 and the potential 3070 Ti or 3070 Super, depending on what NVIDIA decides to go with. And of course, it's all speculation at this point, but we do have some history to fall back on if need be. And we can start with the 2070 to take a look at what happened back in September of 2018 when the card first launched. Of course, it was a bit underwhelming. It was a TU-106 die, which is typically what you'd get with a 60 class card. And needless to say, it didn't wow anyone and was eventually discontinued for a time and then brought back. So I would speculate that any card that gets discontinued, even if it's just for a while, isn't exactly hitting that gaming sweet spot. But it came in a bit faster than the 1080, obviously, a little slower than the 1080 Ti, which, was kind of a super freak card as far as speed went. It was a 60% improvement over the 980 Ti, which kind of blew the doors off of everything that came before it and just really put AMD in a hole. Nobody's arguing that. People were pretty much just taken aback at the performance. So, it is natural to see the next generation maybe struggle in the limelight of such an incredible card. So, as far as the 2070 went, it just was pretty much kind of a 2060 in 2070's clothing, and that wasn't very well received, to say the least. So this time around, we're looking at the 3070. Not a lot to go on. There's a few articles floating out there in cyberspace, all from July, which is kind of bizarre that here it is over a month ago and just not a lot going on. But it looks like it's going to feature just under 3,000 cores. And of course, this is all speculation, and the Ti model may have up to 3,072 cores. Both cards look to be sporting 8 gigabytes of GDDR6. The Ti might get GDDR6X memory, which would be 16 gigabits per second of memory, and would bring the bus up just a bit. Let's see here. The bandwidth would improve from 448 gigabits per second to 512, which obviously is a good improvement over the existing Turing GPUs. But, I would imagine that the 3070 and 3070 Ti really probably at the end of the day are going to be fairly close together. The Ti might be 5 to 10% faster. Of course, it might overclock a bit better. This article that I'm looking at on WCCF Tech is putting the 3070 Ti a little bit above the 2080 Super and the 3070 kind of in and around the super level, 2080 super level performance. So it looks like we're finally inching closer to 4K gaming at the 70 class card, which is the, your typical upper mid-range card. And, this is kind of a big deal because for the longest time, mid-range has gotten you, pretty good 1080p performance and, decent 1440p performance. So for the average gamer who may want to spend no more than, around $300, $400, $500, this is finally kind of heating up for us to get us, near that magical 4K threshold at some high settings, perhaps even ultra settings, depending on the optimization and the the level of demand for the game. So this is kind of exciting news. You're getting a card with around 3,000 cores. You're getting higher memory speeds, and it all adds up to potential 4K gaming, at least for the next, maybe year or so. We don't know how developers are going to go. They'll certainly start to harness this new horsepower offered in these new graphics cards from both AMD and NVIDIA, which, by the way, I would like to talk about AMD just briefly. You know, with all the focus on the big Navi card, potentially 72 to 80 CUs, there's just really not a lot known about small Navi. Of course, we see the APUs in the consoles, but there's really nothing besides big Navi that's being leaked, and really not a lot about big Navi is available at this time, as the card is not really slated to release before potentially October or later this year. So that's kind of why today's focus is on the 3070 and not any littler Navi cards, because there's just not a lot to say. Hopefully that changes in the near future so we can start doing some theoretical matchups. But this is definitely looking good as far as the 70 class card goes. Hopefully they don't decide to price it much above 500, because then you're kind of looking at is this a mid-range card, or like more like a high-end card, or potentially bringing mid-range to the high end of prices. We really don't want to see that. And the 2080 Super, yeah, it's just kind of it's a bit better than a 2080, but a good probably 20% slower than the 3080 Ti. So I certainly hope that the 3070 and 3070 Ti or Super variant punches well above a 2080, gets you closer to that 2080 Ti level of performance. And I think eventually you'll see the 37, especially the 3070 Ti, start to kind of eat away at the 2080 Ti's lead, if at all, because over time you get driver optimizations, they get to kind of start tweaking the architecture to really maximize its potential, kind of like we saw with the 2070 Super kind of eat away at the lead at the 1080 Ti, and now it's kind of a bit faster in a lot of titles, even though it's a little lighter on cores and obviously memory. But now I don't think anybody would recommend a 1080 Ti used over a 2070 Super, unless you just have to have that Ti badge in your rig. So in summary, looks like mid-range, looks like 4K is coming to the mid-range. Couldn't be happier. You've got monitors fairly cheap. You can get a cheap 4K monitor or cheap 4K TV, plug it in, and it just kind of hard to get the horsepower unless you're looking at a 2080 Ti to really power it. So that's going to be changing. You can get that cheaper monitor with a fairly, I hate to say inexpensive, but GPU that more people can afford. Pop it in, playing a little 4K. Maybe you want to drop it down to 1440p to get that ultra resolution on those kind of scenic games, maybe the story games, a little Red Dead Redemption. I don't think you're going to see playing 4K on too many cards for the Cyberpunk game coming out, unless we really get some magic from that DLSS 3.0, although now they're kind of saying that it's going to be DLSS 2.0, but hopefully we get an upgrade on that as well and bump it up to DLSS 3.0 and squeeze out a little extra performance. And of course, I've not even mentioned ray tracing. I'm just mostly focusing on traditional rasterization here. It's really kind of hard to speculate on any of that until we have a little bit more, something that we can put our arms around. So once again, in summary, the mid-range is maybe going to bring us some 4K capabilities. We know the consoles are coming. They're targeting 4K, although I question how much more than medium settings we're going to get on those, but that's a discussion for another day. But let me know what you think. Are you excited for 4K mid-range gaming? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. And if you'd like to support the channel, please subscribe, share, and like. That's much appreciated, as we are a new channel. So if you like more content like this, stay tuned and we'll catch you in the next video.